Hi there, I'm Jake and I'm a scientist. And as a scientist, I'm going to talk to you about politics. Welcome to Project Science. I've said it before, and I imagine I'll say it many more times in many forms. Science is the pursuit of knowledge about the universe, specifically through testable explanations. Politics, meanwhile, refers to the process for making rules and decisions for groups of people. Typically, when a number of people live together, it becomes necessary to reach agreements about matters that will affect the group. This has been a staple of human life for millennia. Answering explanatory questions through testing and observation is the name of the game in science. And asking those questions about our surroundings in the first place is also a part of who we are as humans. So where within this system of necessary facts of human life does controversy come in? Let's dive in, shall we? For starters, scientific research requires funding. Scientists need supplies to do work. Lead scientists need to pay the researchers carrying out the work. There may be travel expenses if field work is involved. These are all overheads, meaning that if a lab brings in a great big grant, that may give the impression that science is a money-making field, but really most of that goes to operational costs. State-of-the-art technology is both necessary and expensive. With the exception of privately funded research, like, for example, company-owned pharmaceutical labs, most research funding comes from a government body. The people who work in a government have a lot of different factors to consider when making decisions, including their constituents, their colleagues, and their donors. Not all of these groups may have opinions in line with one another's, nor may these opinions be in line with the needs or views of scientists. And this is a natural part of human beings making human decisions. The problem is when scientists, using measurable observations and consistent data, determine that a particular course of action is important to take or to avoid, but politicians are opposed. There will be a full episode in the near future that focuses exclusively on this topic in detail, but climate change is one of the biggest examples of this. The evidence is overwhelming. Humans are causing climate change, and terrible things will result. Scientists are in pretty much unanimous agreement about this, but there are some people who stand to gain financially from denying this, and that is where the human problem really sets in. Curiosity is human, but so is fallibility, and greed. And while data may be objective, how we use those data may be anything but. That's why you see politicians and pundits rattling off statistics that support their specific points, even if those points seem to otherwise defy logic and reason. This can have dark consequences, as seen in phrenology and eugenics programs and all that is scientific racism. Scientists collect information. What we choose to do with that information is what can cause the controversy. So, science and politics have a significant relationship, but is science itself political? Yes. Okay, but how? Within a field based on fact, how can something subjective like politics come into play? Well, science as a field, science as a concept, is ideally objective and apolitical, but scientists are all, like politicians, human beings. There are several different ways then that political biases take shape in science. But to start with, let's take it from a very basic level. If we accept the aphorism that knowledge is power, then consider the following. Science is the pursuit of knowledge, and thus those given access to this pursuit gain power in the field, while those denied this access instead are left in a position of vulnerability. One obvious way this can be seen is by looking at who holds top positions in scientific disciplines. They're pretty much all white dudes, and that's a problem. A lack of representation means a lack of a voice for every marginalized group imaginable, and that serves to reinforce that imbalance. Being part of a marginalized group, whether due to your race, gender, religion, sexuality, or any other part of what makes you you, can make everyday life much harder. To then try and pursue a career in science under these conditions can be downright impossible. This level of extraordinarily unequal treatment is what drives many scientists to take political action. Saturday, April 22nd, 2017, the March for Science is being held in Washington, D.C. and numerous cities all around. The aim is to protest the current anti-science political climate in the U.S. since the start of the year. Already we have seen climate data completely removed from government websites, scientists banned from talking about their research to the public, a bill to terminate the EPA, a bill to repeal wildlife protections in Alaska, a bill to remove nutrition standards in schools, a bill to terminate the Department of Education. Mass hysteria! The march aims to address these issues, but it remains not only silent on, but opposed to many calls for diversity and inclusion, intersectionality in general, and much of what is important to people who are scientists. It's not political. It's a protest, so it's necessarily political. and it's specifically about policy that affects science. Well, it's nonpartisan. Saying that is trying to have your cake and somebody else's cake, and then claiming no responsibility when you try to eat it all and exclude allies in the process. A middle-of-the-road approach maybe makes sense on the very surface, but it ultimately means weakening your stance on many critically important issues that affect your colleagues, but not you personally. All so that you can claim an assumed high road of objectivity that frankly isn't possible in such a situation. Not to mention that claiming objectivity or neutrality is a luxury afforded only to those who do not already experience marginalization in their careers or lives. It's okay to openly take a stance, even if you're a scientist, and it's important to consider those around you. Science is about observation, so observe what's happening outside your sphere. Science is also supposed to be about bringing us as humans forward into the future. All of us. I could never put it better than theoretical astrophysicist and all-around cool person, Dr. Chanda Prescott Weinstein. Science is a human enterprise that belongs to all of us in all of our configurations. Going forward, remember that not only is science important, but so are the people who study it. Stay curious. Thanks for watching.